Chapter 1990. Do you want to see me lose control? Yi Wanwan's heart skipped a beat. She looked up at Si Yihan with a smile and corrected herself. No, we're neither pure nor innocent. I was just fooling Jiang Lihan. I heard that. Jiang Lihan shouted. Yi Wanwan had no choice but to throw all caution to the wind. Ahem, fine, you heard it. Gang leader Jiang, it was you who set the conditions and you didn't ask whether my relationship with Lord Azura was pure and innocent or not. Don't tell me you're going back on your word now. Jiang Lihan wiped the water off his face, malice in his eyes. Ha, President Bai, nicely done. You even dared to trick me. He truly deserved to be the boss most guilty of monstrous crimes amongst the three leaders of prison. The aura he exerted when his expression darkened caused the temperature around the hot springs to lower several degrees. Yi Wanwan shuddered in fright and subconsciously hid behind Si Yihan. Si Yihan peered down at Yi Wanwan with his brows slightly furrowed before his gaze sharp as a sword shot toward Jiang Lihan and the complete nakedness he revealed after standing up. Dress yourself. You think I'll get dressed just because you told me to? Jiang Lihan retorted with a cold expression but promptly picked up the nearby towel with a swish 3 seconds later and obediently wrapped it around himself. I'm just a little cold. It wasn't my fault. Yi Wanwan hastily scrambled to adamantly clear herself from this fiasco and assert her innocence. She swiftly shifted the blame to Jiang Lihan, selling him out. I merely came here to ask gang leader Jiang if he could lend me a hand and give me Scarlet Flame's Academy's school monument. Say, if he didn't want to give it to me, he could have told me. I wouldn't have raised any objections, but he tricked me. Wait, no, he tricked you. He said he specifically wanted to see what you looked like when your stoic face lost control, so he coerced me into forcefully kissing you and said he would give the monument to me if I dared to do it. Is that so? You want to see me lose control? Si Yihan asked. No, I didn't. I don't want to. Jiang Lihan fiercely glared at the tattling Yi Wanwan, nearly angered to the point of spitting blood. Fuck me. It was a private bet, but this gal actually tattled on me to the parent. Is she an elementary school student? Jiang Lihan was fuming with rage with gritted teeth, still unwilling to believe it. This is impossible. When the heck did you two get together? Doesn't Ai have an innocent, kind-hearted, perfect, and irreplaceable first love? Lord Azura and Bro Flattop. What kind of strange pairing is this? Yi Wanwan was astonished when she heard that. This was a heavy load of information. It wasn't any inferior to that time when Autumn Water exposed her relationship with Ji Xiuran. Si Yihan actually had a pure and kind-hearted first love. Yi Wanwan hummed before answering, that's right. I am that pure, kind-hearted, and perfect first love. Si Yihan, Jiang Lihan laughed in his anger. President Bai, don't you have any idea what your reputation is? Can't you have a little shame? Yi Wanwan's gaze instantly shot towards Si Yihan. Ajio, your first love. Am I not that pure and kind-hearted first love in your heart? Si Yihan looked dazed, and he didn't answer. Yi Wanwan intently bore into him. After what seemed like forever, a cool voice was finally heard. Yes. It was a short word, but it caused Yi Wanwan's heart to start pounding crazily. Pa-dump, pa-dump. Damn. It really was me. This is a little alarming. Yi Wanwan didn't know why, perhaps it was her subconscious that made her feel like that person was her. However, she still couldn't help but feel fairly surprised when she really obtained a certain answer from Si Yihan. Chapter 1991. That is fairly thrilling. My image in Si Yihan's heart was, actually this, horrifying. Pure, kind-hearted, perfect, etc. Yi Wanwan's desire to remember what in the world happened in the past intensified immensely. Jiang Lihan lost the willpower to say anything else. Let me calm down, gang leader Jiang, it's fine if you want to calm down, but can we cash in our bet first? Yi Wanwan hastily recalled their deal. Do you think I can carry such a large slab of rock with me wherever I go? Yi Wanwan grinned. Then I'll have to trouble gang leader Jiang to have someone send it over later. You're the boss of heavenly hatred, gang leader Jiang, so I'm sure you won't withhold a slab of rock from me. Jiang Lihan's heart was dripping blood. He never would have expected the boat to turn or fail miserably and be tricked himself one day. Having obtained 15,000 honor points, Yi Wanwan's mood couldn't be any more elated. She turned to see Yihan with admiration. Thank you, darling. You're seriously too awesome. Jiang Lihan, it's me who's giving you the school monument. What's awesome, huh? He did nothing. At that moment, a continuous ring tone was heard. It was 7-Star calling Yi Wanwan. My deputy is looking for me. I'll get going now. She needed to hurry and dash before Jiang Lihan changed his mind. There were many things she wanted to know and ask Si Yihan, but this wasn't a good place for that conversation. After Yi Wanwan left, Jiang Lihan impatiently asked, Shit, what in the world is going on between you and Bai Feng? Si Yihan glanced at him aloofly. It's exactly what you saw. Damn. Isn't this a bit too exciting? Wasn't the one who kidnapped you back then some insignificant lackey from the Fearless Alliance? I remember it was a pitiful, innocent flower forcefully abducted by the Fearless Alliance to slave for them. How did she become the notorious and monstrous president of the Fearless Alliance suddenly? Old Xia, I didn't remember things wrong, right? Xia Qianchuan coughed lightly and answered, I also remember it like that. Si Yihan's eyes dimmed, as though he was sinking into contemplation. In truth, ever since he learned Yi Wanwan became the president of the Fearless Alliance after returning to the independent state, he started suspecting this. And now, his suspicion was about to be proven. He was afraid that she wasn't some lackey underling controlled by the Fearless Alliance. Instead, she was the president of the Fearless Alliance, Bai Feng. Jiang Lihan might have a terrible sense of humor, but he fulfilled his end of the bet rather quickly and soon sent an enormous school monument to Yi Wanwan. When Yi Wanwan unveiled the red cloth covering the stone and saw the characters, Scarlet Flame's Mercenary Academy, carved on it, she was grinning from ear to ear. She never would have expected to obtain 15,000 honor points just like that. Ah, my little darling, my little precious, my honor points. In the midst of Yi Wanwan's burst of happiness, Big Dipper and 7-Star found her, huffing and puffing. Sis Feng, we finally found you. Where did you run off to? 7-Star noticed the item in Yi Wanwan's hand. This is... Huh? What is this? Big Dipper focused on the item and his eyes shot open. Shit! The school monument. Isn't this Scarlet Flame's Academy's school monument? How did you get it, Sis Feng? You actually managed to get your hands on this from Heavenly Hatred's boss. You're out of this world, Sis Feng. Big Dipper's eyes were shining and his face was reverent. 7-Star also looked very shocked. The leader of Heavenly Hatred isn't an amiable person. How did you successfully persuade him, Sis Feng? Yi Wanwan grimly answered, that process was fairly thrilling. It was a narrow escape. Chapter 1992. Even when on a secret date, Yi Wanwan bragged from the earth to the high heavens and fabricated a giant battle, duping Big Dipper left and right. Although 7-Star felt something was amiss about this, he couldn't figure out how she managed to achieve this. What should we do with this monument now? Where should we put it? Big Dipper asked. Yi Wanwan instantly covered up the school monument, which was at least the height of an adult, with a piece of red silk cloth and hugged it. Carry it with me, of course. Big Dipper inquired, carry it with you? Isn't this a little big? Yi Wanwan couldn't allow anyone else to bring it back without worrying, so she was adamant about personally delivering it to the academy and obtaining her honor points. This is 15,000 honor points, after all. Sis Feng, let me carry it, 7-Star offered. No need. I can carry it myself. 7-Star, oh right, Sis Feng, you dashed off without a trace just now because you went to get this thingy? Big Dipper asked. Yi Wanwan replied, yes, what about it? Big Dipper carefully probed, you didn't do anything else? She was busy snatching the school monument, so she definitely didn't have time to do anything else, right? I did. I even went on a secret date. Yi Wanwan responded. Big Dipper, soon, all the major leaders arrived one after the other, and the conference officially began in the evening. The conference room was alive with conversation. The majority of people were discussing how many leaders in the independent state mysteriously disappeared recently. I heard even Emperor Ji fell victim. Just who in the world is so capable? Who knows? At that moment, two figures entered the room steps apart. The leading Xie Qianchuan was wearing an iron-gray suit and a grim, serious expression while Jiang Lihan, who was behind him, strolled in lazily, seemingly in a bad mood based on his frightening expression. Everyone inside the conference room instantly quieted down, and their gazes shot toward the entrance. Yi Wanwan was sitting fairly far back, but she was holding an enormous object the height of a person with a bright red cloth covering over it, so she was rather eye-catching. Jiang Lihan paused in his steps and intently stared at the school monument in Yi Wanwan's arms and wanted to spit out blood from his rage. Sensing Jiang Lihan's unfriendly gaze, Yi Wanwan's hold on the monument promptly tightened. What are you doing? What are you doing? This is my little precious now. It's no longer your little darling. Ahem, Xie Qianchuan cleared his throat as a warning, and Jiang Lihan finally begrudgingly pulled his eyes away from the monument and started walking again before sitting down in one of the chief seats. Not long after Xie Qianchuan and Jiang Lihan sat down, the final leader of prison arrived. Silver-haired and black-clothed with a handsome and perfect face akin to that of a vampire dwelling in the dark night. Damn, this is Lord Azura, right? TSK, Azura has returned in a swirl of dust. Prison's might has redoubled. I heard that prison's directors might be Xie Qianchuan and Jiang Lihan on the surface, but this Lord Azura is prison's true brain and soul in reality. If it weren't for Lord Azura abruptly disappearing back then, perhaps even the Martial Arts Union wouldn't be able to suppress prison, Tisk. At the appearance of Si Yihan, Yi Wanwan was instantly energized and her eyes shone as she turned to the man. Her gaze was truly too fervent, so Si Yihan couldn't ignore it even if he wanted to. His cool gaze involuntarily landed on her but forcefully withdrew a second later. Upon seeing how he only locked his gaze with hers for a second before looking away, Yi Wanwan's expression darkened instantly and sullenness overcame her. I merely kissed him. Does he need to be so petty? It was clearly an ability and duty well within my rights. Yi Wanwan was furious and only felt better after patting the monument by her hand. Forget it, at least he helped me earn so many honor points. However, Big Dipper just had to run his mouth off on the side. Sis Feng, stop looking. He's not someone you can have the hots for, alright? Yi Wanwan glanced at Big Dipper, unwilling to waste her words on him. Soon, First Elder, Second Elder, and some other members from the Fearless Alliance entered the conference room at the designated time and walked toward Yi Wanwan. President, this is, First Elder stared at the enormous, covered, and unknown object next to Yi Wanwan, astonished. Second Elder mused, could this be the greeting gift that the President prepared for prison? Big Dipper chortled. What are you saying? Sis Feng just stole this from prison. First Elder, Second Elder, at this conference, aside from all the notable bosses of the independent state, some higher-ups from various factions would also be present. Xie Qianchuan looked around the room, displeasure surfacing in his eyes uninhibited. They invited many people using prison's title, but less than half of the invited guests attended. Receiving an invitation from prison was truly an honor. Suddenly, the door to the room opened, and a beautiful woman entered first wearing a long dress with an incredibly haughty expression. Ma, the Nye family. Some leaders couldn't keep the surprise off their faces when they saw the woman. They didn't expect prison to also invite the four great clans of the independent state. For all of history, the four great clans and prison had always minded their own business and nearly never had any interactions, so the Nye family's attendance this time was rather unexpected. Nye Linglong, when Yi Wanwan saw the woman leading the Nye family's group, her eyes glinted coldly. Nye Linglong was actually attending this conference as the Nye family's representative. Who's the woman behind Nia Linglong? Some higher-up asked curiously when they saw the woman behind Nia Linglong. You don't know? That's Nia Linglong's older sister and nameless Nia's younger sister, Worryless Nia. She's the legendary prodigy from the Nia family, the long-missing Worryless Nia. The one engaged to Emperor Ji. That's right. That's her. After learning about Worryless Nia's identity, some higher-ups or leaders all voluntarily greeted Nia Linglong with smiles on their faces. Everyone knew the Nia family had 3 children. The eldest was nameless Nia, the second child was Worryless Nia, and the third child was Nia Linglong. Currently, Madame Nia was getting on with her years, so based on the Nia family's rules and customs, it would probably soon be the time for the next head to take over managing the entire Nia family. The eldest child, nameless Nia, had a rather bold and unrestrained personality and didn't bother with trifles. He was even considered a bit of an oddball. He was also very outspoken and didn't have enough EQ, so he frequently offended people. Hence, the Nia family absolutely wouldn't be handed over to nameless Nia. As for the third child, Nia Linglong, she was brought back to the Nia family by Worryless Nia back then and was merely the Nia family's adopted daughter. Although she was more outstanding than Worryless Nia now and was more suited for taking over the Nia family, she didn't carry the Nia family's blood herself, so she was an unlikely candidate probably. Hence, amongst the 3 siblings, the only possible candidate for inheriting the Nia family was this long-missing Worryless Nia. If they befriended Worryless Nia now, it would be the same as befriending the Nia family in the future. The Nia family was one of the independent state's 4 great clans, so there wasn't a faction that wanted to become enemies with them. Ha, they all say Worryless Nia of the Nia family has extraordinary looks and strength. Seeing you today, you truly deserve every bit of praise uttered, an elderly man said while looking at Worryless Nia with a bellowing laugh. Worryless Nia immediately nodded at the elderly man with a smile in response. A moment later, Nia Linglong's gaze suddenly landed on the nearby Yuanwan, unconcealed disdain surfacing in her eyes. Worryless Nia followed Nia Linglong's gaze and turned to Yuanwan as well. She said genially, "It's President Bai." She paused before asking with a chuckle, "That's right, what identity is President Bai using to attend this conference?" Yuanwan looked to Worryless Nia and replied expressionlessly, "What do you mean?" "Not much. I'm just curious whether President Bai is attending this conference as the president of the Fearless Alliance or are you attending as our Nia family's foster daughter?" The fake Worryless Nia snorted and her lips curled up as she continued, "Everyone probably doesn't know, but the mighty President Bai of the Fearless Alliance, the one people call Bro Flattop because she's indifferent to life and death and would pick up arms in an instant, is currently pestering our Nia family. She's impersonating a normal woman to worm into our Nia family and she coerced and conned my mother to take her in as a foster daughter." Many higher-ups and leaders looked surprised at her words. The Fearless Alliance would actually do something like that? Didn't the Fearless Alliance have a hostile relationship with the Nia family several years ago? But now, Bai Feng of the Fearless Alliance was impersonating a normal woman and forcing Madame Nia to recognize her as a foster daughter. Wasn't this too? Ha, niece Worryless, as you said, this is the president of the Fearless Alliance. Everyone knows the Fearless Alliance's behavior and reputation in the independent state. Impersonating a normal woman and coercing Madame Nia to take her in as a foster daughter, isn't that typical? The Fearless Alliance has always been so thick-faced, a leader piped in with a smile. "Zhou Tai, what does this have to do with you?" Third elder looked at that leader darkly. "I seem to remember that you have another batch of supplies to send out soon, right, Zhou Tai?" "That's good. Our Fearless Alliance hasn't worked in a while, so just wait and see." The expression of the elderly man, Zhou Tai, shifted instantly. He stared at Yuanwan and coldly demanded, "This is the quality of the President Fearless, President Bai?" Yuanwan tilted her head and glanced at Zhou Tai before aloofly saying, "As you just said, Elder Zhou, our Fearless Alliance has always been this shameless." Veins popped out on Zhou Tai's forehead. "You're seriously freaking shameless." Before he could say anything else, the conference room door was opened again. A dozen or so elderly men entered the room with a man wearing a silver mask leading the way. Everyone's expressions shifted when they saw the newcomers. Yu Wanwan also couldn't withhold her astonishment. The Martial Arts Union. This chapter is scrapped from Read Light Novel. Orc Prison actually invited the Martial Arts Union this time too. Xie Qianchuan set his sights on the man and said, "Vice President, this is a conference summoned by prison. I don't quite remember when I invited the Martial Arts Union." While he was talking, the Vice President had found an empty chair to sit down on. He asked leisurely, "What? If the Martial Arts Union wants to come, we need someone to invite us." When Xie Qianchuan heard the Vice President's response, his expression instantly chilled. As for the other factions, they were displeased, but no one dared to vocalize it or stick their necks out first. This Vice President's words were extremely arrogant, but no one dared to refute him. The Vice President's actions represented the entire Martial Arts Union. Recently, many notable powerful figures in the independent state have gone missing, evoking fear in our residents. As the supervisor of the independent state, the Martial Arts Union has the power to visit any place and investigate. Since prison initiated a meeting today and invited so many people, we came to take a look at the situation and listen to what you have to say. There aren't any problems with that. Who knows what you're plotting? Perhaps you were the culprits behind those people who went missing. It's hard to say, the Vice President added. That seems reasonable. Reasonable your ass. What do the mysterious disappearances of Emperor Ji and those other people have anything to do with us? Exactly. You can abduct the sky or the earth, but who would dare to abduct Emperor Ji? They're talking so honorably, but who knows if it was the Martial Arts Union who did it? Some higher-ups and leaders quietly discussed amongst themselves. Alright, since the Martial Arts Union suspects us to be the culprits, then you can investigate however you want. I truly hope you won't return empty-handed and will discover something, Vice President, Jiang Lihan said with a snort. The Martial Arts Union did indeed have the power of supervision in the independent state, an outcome decided through election from all the powers in the independent state back then. Since the Martial Arts Union wanted to supervise them now, then they would be allowed to supervise. After all, the Martial Arts Union had this spare time, and prison wouldn't lose anything either. Otherwise, if they kicked the Martial Arts Union out, the residents of the independent state might think prison was guilty if news of this got out. The members of the Martial Arts Union had just settled down and the meeting was about to start when a large group of people burst into the room all of a sudden. The leader was around 28 or 29 years old and had an attractive appearance. He wore a normal casual outfit, but for some reason, he looked feminine and soft. "Ha, things are truly lively," the leader commented with a light chuckle as his eyes swept across the room. "It's him. One of the 8 gods under Emperor Ji. The second-ranked Guyu. Guyu is only ranked second. I heard he's incredibly talented and he's Emperor Ji's most capable general. His abilities aren't any inferior to Emperor Ji, who's number 1. I'm not certain. Only 7 of the 8 gods underneath Emperor Ji have revealed their faces. The last person is extremely enigmatic, and no one has ever seen him. Some people even say the final god of the 8 gods has been Emperor Ji himself all along." Yu Wanwan recognized the man next to Guyu. It was Skeleton, the man who frequently stayed by Emperor Ji's side and who was also one of the 8 gods. "Have a seat," Xie Qianchuan said. Guyu smiled faintly and didn't waste any words before sitting down. Shit, Yu Wanwan's gaze coincidentally landed on one of the men standing with Emperor Ji's faction. This man was currently examining the room inquisitively. Yu Wanwan didn't know what to say. Why did Nameless Nya follow Emperor Ji's faction here and join in on the festivities? Yu Wanwan reflexively turned her head, hoping that Nameless Nya wouldn't see her. "Ha, good sister, you're also here." The thing she was most afraid of happened anyway. Nameless Nya's gaze landed on Yu Wanwan, and he promptly strode toward Yu Wanwan. "Yu Wanwan, what are you doing? Are you a zombie? Why aren't you getting a chair for me?" Nameless Nya glanced at Big Dipper. Big Dipper had his mouth agape, clueless about this current situation. Since Yu Wanwan didn't say anything, he had no choice but to dumbfoundedly carry a chair and place it next to Yu Wanwan. After Nameless Nya sat down, Yu Wanwan immediately asked, "Why did you follow Ji Xiuran's people here instead of following the Nya family's people here?" Yu Wanwan really couldn't comprehend this. Nameless Nya was at least the Nya family's eldest son. Did he have to go to this extent? TCH, they wouldn't bring me, so what could I do? I could only follow old pal Ji's people here, Nameless Nya answered. Why did you come here? Yi Wanwan was curious. To investigate my old pal Ji's whereabouts, of course, and to see if there are any deals I can strike and earn some money and such. Nameless Nya grinned. Yi Wanwan, so investigating Ji Xiuran's whereabouts was a cover-up, and looking for some business to earn money was the real deal, right? Yi Wanwan's heart immensely ached for Ji Xiuran. Just what kind of friend did he make? Oh right, good sister. Nameless Nya naturally draped his arm around Yi Wanwan's neck and leaned in next to her ear before saying, how's your search for the antidote coming along? I'm truly beside myself with worry and heartache for you. Dead man told me you don't have much time left. Yi Wanwan, what the heck is, you don't have much time left? Can't you filter yourself? Watching Nameless Nya latching his arm around Yi Wanwan's neck, a bone-chilling gaze shot from a certain man's eyes and pierced Nameless Nya. When Yi Wanwan sensed this icy chill, she couldn't help but shiver. Damn it, vinegar factory owner is starting to produce vinegar by the tons again. But this is my actual brother. Yi Wanwan had no choice but to naturally and inadvertently return Nameless Nya's arm to stop a certain someone from producing vinegar. Yi Wanwan didn't know if it was her misperception, but ever since she left the Fearless Alliance this morning, she felt something was wrong with her body. Doesn't this lousy place have any air conditioning? Why do I feel so hot? Nameless Nya was baffled. It's the middle of winter. What air conditioning? Yi Wanwan, then why did she feel like an inferno was burning through her? Especially when her eyes met Si Yihan's. Read the next chapter on our VIP novel. Calm this entire time, that guy had an expression so frosty it formed icicles. What Yi Wanwan didn't notice was a handful of thin, light red lines faintly appearing on her neck and gradually spreading like a spider web. The final moment before the conference began, the members of the Shin family also arrived hastily. Aside from the Shin family, even the most low-profile of the four great clans, the Ling family, sent a representative there. The Ling family's representative was a middle-aged man. When the man entered the room, he couldn't help but take a few more looks at Yi Wanwan. When Yi Wanwan detected the man's gaze, she immediately looked over as well, but the man had already looked away and sat unmoving on his chair. Seeing that everyone had arrived, Xie Qianchuan and Jiang Lihan's eyes met before quickly announcing the start of the meeting. Prison is very grateful that everyone was able to come here today, Xie Qianchuan began. Jiang Lihan spoke next. Due to recent events, the topic of this meeting required a little adjustment. Everyone should know a certain event has been occurring in the independent state. A dozen or so good friends, including Emperor Ji, went missing mysteriously. We believe it absolutely isn't a simple matter. Yi Wanwan glanced at Jiang Lihan. Jiang Lihan had to be commended for having a silver tongue. Good friends? He probably had never even seen some of these people. I don't care about the others, but our own Emperor Ji also disappeared. I hope that every one of you here is clean and innocent. Don't let me find out who the culprit is. Or else, we aren't opposed to destroying the good and bad alike. I believe everyone knows my behavior and style, right? Guyu smiled faintly, his eyes sweeping across the room as he settled on the martial arts union for a few moments longer. Of course. Our martial arts union has been using every power within our reach to investigate this matter, so I'm certain it won't be long before a conclusion is reached, the vice president of the martial arts union amiably responded. This is considered a significant matter. Which of you is missing a boss? Relying on your own investigation alone, how long will that take? Nameless Nya said as he suddenly stood up. Hire me. My team and I are the most outstanding mercenaries in the independent state. As long as you pay us, my boss would be like my real mom and dad. I will dig 3 feet underground, no, 30 feet, if necessary to find them. As long as payment is provided, there's nothing we can't do. Yi Wan, this isn't my real brother. I don't freaking know him. I absolutely don't. Everyone turned to Nameless Nye. Enough already. Who doesn't know Nameless Nye's team is a group of swindlers famous for taking the money but not doing the work, one of the leaders said. Yi Wan, who said I take money but don't do the work? Come out here and say that to my face if you have the guts. Since when have I ever taken the money but not done the work? Unless the money provided wasn't enough. Nameless Nye furiously shouted at once. This time, Yi Wan could verify for that boss that Nameless Nye and his team really took the money but didn't do much work. If you depended on Nameless Nye and his team to search for someone, that person would probably decay into a skeleton and there still wouldn't be any progress. However, Nameless Nye's team was occasionally fairly reliable, but this freaking depended on luck entirely, alright? Come. Ask President Bai of the Fearless Alliance whether my team is efficient at our job or not. And whether we're the fastest and strongest or not. While Yi Wan was enjoying the show, Nameless Nye abruptly directed all inquiries to her. Never would Yi Wan have expected this. Yi Wan, you freaking. Embarrassment crawled onto Yi Wan's face when she saw a number of gazes landing on her. She had no idea what to say. Actually, they're fairly reliable. We've had several business dealings and Nameless team is very reliable every time. He was her actual brother, after all, so Yi Wan could only ignore her conscience and lie. Ask Guyu and Skeleton next. They're part of Emperor Ji's group, Nameless Nye said. Guyu furrowed his brows slightly before nodding a moment later. Very reliable, however, regardless of how beautifully the picture was painted, no one believed it, and Nameless Nye's dream of becoming wealthy failed. Xie Qianchuan quickly returned to business. I received news yesterday that the clan leader of the ancient Jiang clan went missing yesterday when he went outside. No one has heard from him since. The leader of the ancient Jiang clan? Everyone's expressions shifted. The leader of an ancient clan, what kind of notion was that? He also disappeared. They all sunk into contemplation as they wondered, what in the world has been going on in the independent state lately? In the midst of fervent discussion, the door to the conference room was kicked open from the outside with a gigantic bang. The people in the room were instantly incensed. Every attendee of the meeting today was famous and respected. Who dared to act so insolently? A cold glint flashed through Xie Qianchuan's eyes while intrigue entered Zhang Lihan's face. He wanted to know who was in such a hurry to reincarnate. The man standing outside the door was expressionless and dressed casually. His head of long, ink-dark hair scattered down his back, touching his waist. He languidly walked forward but his terrifying aura quickened everyone's breathing. Damn, Big Dipper visibly shuddered when he saw the newcomer. Peace. Piece of brother shit. Yi Shuihan walked to the center of the room carelessly like no one else was present, and he surveyed the seats packed with people before swiftly making his way to an elder from the Martial Arts Union. When Piece of Shit's gaze landed on him, the elder's brows locked together and sweat seeped onto his forehead. Move, Shuihan aloofly commanded. Under everyone's watchful eyes, the elder from the Martial Arts Union had no choice but to grit his teeth and yield his seat. The amusement on Zhang Lihan's face disappeared completely and was replaced by a seriousness never seen before. Brother Yi, why are you here? The vice president of the Martial Arts Union examined Yi Shuihan with astonishment. However, Yi Shuihan didn't give any response. Instead, he raised his arm before pointing at Zhang Lihan, the Xie Qianchuan, the Nye family, the Ling family, the Shen family, etc., who abducted the leader from the ancient clan. A while later, Yi Shuihan calmly raised this inquiry. Everyone in the room looked at each other, bewildered. Who abducted the leader of the ancient Jiang clan? How would they know? Even if someone abducted him, it had to be piece of shit who did it, right? Who in the independent state didn't know piece of shit wanted to annihilate all of the ancient clans? Was there some kind of misunderstanding? Doubt raised in Yi Wanwan's mind as she looked at piece of shit. Previously, she also suspected it was piece of shit who caused the disappearance of these independent state leaders. However, piece of shit came here without invitation today and asked that question. Who abducted a member of the ancient clan? Hand him over to me, and I'll let bygones be bygones. Otherwise, I will destroy your entire clan. Yi Shuihan's frightening gaze swept over everyone in the room, and his icy tone carried a pressure that made everyone unable to resist or refute him. No one dared to vocalize their rage toward Yi Shuihan's words though. They all wanted to have the capability to abduct a leader of an ancient clan. Brother Yi, I don't know about other people, but this matter absolutely doesn't have anything to do with our Nya family. Worryless Nya turned to Yi Shuihan and attempted to explain. Noisy, Yi Shuihan coldly responded with a glance at Worryless Nya. Worryless Nya, you. Nya Linglong furrowed her brows slightly but didn't say anything. You simply need to listen to me, Shuihan interrupted. Brother Yi, this was a meeting called by prison. Even if you want to unleash your wrath, can you please wait until our meeting concludes? Xie Qianchuan asked the other man. Before Yi Shuihan could answer, Yi Wanwan mockingly glanced at the martial arts union and interjected, Knight Errant Yi, you can turn your questions to the martial arts union. The martial arts union are probably the only ones who possess the ability to abduct the leader of an ancient clan, no? Following her words, Yi Shuihan's gaze settled on the vice president. Don't kid with me. Why would our martial arts union do such a thing? The vice president countered coldly as he glared at Yi Wanwan. You. Take me to the martial arts union's headquarters and let me investigate, Shuihan ordered. Yi Shuihan, you'll believe anything other people say? The vice president sounded displeased. You wouldn't be afraid of ghosts knocking on your door if your conscience was clear. What do you fear? Yi Wanwan snorted. Yi Shuihan glanced at Yi Wanwan before saying, I don't care about other people, but you need to thoroughly look into the cases concerning the ancient clans. Send a representative to investigate the matter. I can help if difficulties arise. The Nya family is willing to investigate this matter. Nya Linglong suddenly stood up and turned to Yi Shuihan with a faint smile. My sister, Worryless, and I are confident we can get to the bottom of this matter. Who in this room didn't want to befriend piece of shit? If they could crack this case, not only would their reputation in the independent state skyrocket, but piece of shit would also owe them a favor. Me. I'll go. Yi Wanwan also stood up and yelled, eagerly raising her hand. Si Yihan looked at Yi Wanwan with a furrow of his brows. He couldn't help but feel exasperated. He should have known that since she was there was no way she could silently sit on the sidelines. Ha, this is the president of the Fearless Alliance. Brother Yi should know about the Fearless Alliance's nature. How can someone like her shoulder such a great responsibility? Moreover, how can the Fearless Alliance compare to the Nya family, whether we're talking about our connections or strength? The fake Worryless Nya piped in. Yi Wanwan narrowed her eyes and turned to Worryless Nya. With her current identity as the president of the Fearless Alliance, her connections and strength were weaker than the Nya family's, but so what? Her support was strong. And her son was also Yi Shuihan's disciple. Everyone watched as Yi Shuihan nodded and said to Worryless Nya, your words are reasonable. Worryless Nya's lips curled up, but before her smirk could fully form, she heard Yi Shuihan saying, then I'll leave this matter to President Bai. Worryless Nya Linglong, Worryless Nya's face brimmed with disbelief. Mr. Yi, has your esteemed self mistaken something? Weren't Yi Shuihan's words the same as saying the Nya family's connections and strength were inferior to the Fearless Alliance in his mind? Yi Wanwan was dumbfounded too, and everyone else looked at each other blankly. People all said Yi Shuihan behaved strangely. It appeared they were right. At that moment, an incredibly excited voice shot out from the crowd. Ha ha ha, lil shit, you're finally here. Nameless Nya's eyes shone brightly as he stared at Yi Shuihan. Lil shit, let's fight. Yi Shuihan glanced at nameless Nya but didn't respond. Instead, he turned to the vice president of the martial arts union. Come with me. Let's go to your headquarters. After saying that, Shuihan got up and left the room. Humph. Ridiculous. The vice president snorted. Since you're willing to waste your time, then I'll take you there and you can see. After Yi Shuihan and the martial arts union group left, nameless Nya scratched his head. Is lil shit scared of me? Yi Wanwan looked at nameless Nya, her brows knitted. I don't think he's scared of you, then. Nameless Nya was confused. It's more like he looks down on you, Yi Wanwan said. What do you know? He merely didn't hear my battle declaration. Nameless Nya was fired up instantly. That's possible too. The original goal of the meeting today was to choose a representative and investigate the matter, but it appears a result was reached already, Jiang Lihan said. Prison originally intended to initiate an investigation into this matter so they could expand their impact and influence, but the Fearless Alliance unexpectedly messed this up. Since there's a result, then the Nya family won't meddle in the matter. Aside from attending this meeting, the Nya family also came here today to announce something, Nya Linglong said after an imperceptible glance at Yi Wanwan. The Nya family has something to announce? Everyone focused their attention on Nya Linglong and her group. Nya Linglong solemnly said, according to the Nya family's customs, we will be inaugurating a new leader soon, and the leader has been chosen. Damn! The Nya family is switching heads. This is major news. Who'll be the new head? In the midst of clamorous surprise, Nya Linglong continued, the new head of the Nya family will be my elder sister, Worryless Nya. I hope everyone here can attend the ceremony. The invitation will be delivered within the next few days. Yi Wanwan was enraged and turned to the devil-may-care nameless Nya standing next to her, wishing nothing more than to club him. Just how did this nameless Nya get by? Wasn't he the eldest son of the Nya family? How come he couldn't even win the position of the leader in the end? Are you a pig? Yi Wanwan disappointedly stared at nameless Nya. Nameless Nya pursed his lips. What can I do? I had an argument with my mom. It's pointless. Yi Wanwan sighed helplessly. Relying on nameless Nya to compete in this kind of thing? Forget it. Yi Wanwan immediately looked at Nya Linglong and the fake worryless Nya. Fine, I've been waiting for this day. You want to take control of the Nya family? I'm ready. When night descended, the conference finally ended after all the utter chaos. Yi Wanwan was a bit anxious when she saw Si Yihan about to leave. She wasn't able to speak to him much today. Shit, what's going on? The moment Yi Wanwan stood up, her breathing halted and she felt like blood was rushing to her head. Sis Feng, what's wrong? Big Dipper reached out to catch her. Yi Wanwan held her head. I'm fine. Big Dipper exasperatedly looked at the monument Yi Wanwan was still holding. It must be because the monument is too heavy. We said we would carry it for you. Yi Wanwan immediately shot him a look and intensely stared at Big Dipper's hand. Move your hand. No touching. Big Dipper hastily pulled his hand back. Fine. I won't touch it, Move it yourself, alright? Seven Star glanced at Yi Wanwan in unease, sharply detecting something off about her current condition. Why did Sis Feng's breathing seem so disordered? Sis Feng, do you feel unwell somewhere? Seven Star asked. First Elder also looked at Yi Wanwan and exclaimed in surprise, President, why is your breathing so disrupted? Yi Wanwan rubbed her pulsing temples. Nothing. My body just feels a little strange, Big Dipper questioned. Strange? Where? Yi Wanwan glanced at Si Yihan, and a single glance caused her heart rate to rapidly speed up and her blood to rush toward her head. Shit. What's wrong with me? Don't tell me I'm so useless that I can't even take a look at him, right? What was more frightening was that she ineffably found Si Yihan's clothes to be a particular eyesore. Sis Feng, just where do you feel unwell? Let me find a doctor to help you take a look. Big Dipper hastily asked. Yuan peered at Big Dipper and expressionlessly replied, I suddenly really want to rip Lord Azura's clothes off of him. Can the doctor treat that? Big Dipper, 7-star, First Elder, Third Elder, the nearby Fearless Alliance higher-ups. Chapter 2001. Big Dipper kept swaying side to side, blocking Yuan's sight. Yuan irritatedly smacked him to the side before marching towards Si Yihan. Shit! Hurry and stop Sis Feng. What is she doing? She isn't really going to rip. Big Dipper didn't have the nerve to finish his words. Terror struck the members of the Fearless Alliance, and they scrambled to chase after Yuan. Thankfully, she was carrying a giant piece of rock still and couldn't move quickly. Moments after Si Yihan walked out of the conference room, Yuan swiftly blocked his path. Esteemed Lord Azura, I have something to say to you. Yuan barely got out half of what she wanted to say when a mass of people from behind her worked together and dragged her away. Si Yihan's gaze followed Yuan. You have something to say to me? As Big Dipper, First Elder, Third Elder, and the other members forcefully pulled Yuan away, they simultaneously shouted, No. She doesn't. Yuan replied, I want to, no. She doesn't want to, they yelled. After saying that, they rapidly dragged Yuan away like they had Hot Wheels under their feet, running faster than rabbits as they left a gust of wind behind. Si Yihan. The group didn't relax until they ran far into the distance. Fuck. That was seriously too thrilling. Thankfully, they managed to restrain the president or else catastrophe would have struck them. Since it was late after the conference ended, Prison arranged accommodations for all the attending factions. The Fearless Alliance was placed on the westmost side, and food and drink were waiting for them already when they arrived. First Elder walked to the table and carefully poured a cup of herbal tea for Yuan as he earnestly persuaded, President, although the Fearless Alliance isn't afraid of anything, well, there's always an exception to the rule. Am I right? Third Elder agreed on this rare occasion. That's right, that's right. First Elder is correct. That sir is enigmatic and really isn't someone we can provoke. Moreover, this is Prison's base camp. Yuan first cautiously placed her precious school monument on the side before taking a seat. She propped her chin on her hand and peered at her subordinates from the corner of her eyes. I merely wanted to chat with him. Look at how worried you guys are. What are you guys thinking? All of you, why are your thoughts so impure? Who was it who said something frightening like she wanted to rip off his clothes? Big Dipper asked. Even if I said that, how could I do that to Lord Azura now? If I wanted to do that, I would wait until no one else was around. Big Dipper, you can't even if no one else is around, alright? The Fearless Alliance was in the midst of a breakdown when Nameless Nya burrowed into the room from somewhere and plopped himself down next to Yuan before stretching his neck and shouting, Owner, where's the menu? Quickly bring the menu here. Only then did Yuan notice that Nameless Nya had actually followed them here for some reason. Why are you also here? Nameless Nya grinned. Aren't you about to eat dinner? Perfect, I also want to eat dinner. Isn't it more lively eating dinner together? You're just here to freeload. Yuan countered. Good sister, listen to yourself. What's our relationship? How can you call it freeloading? A family eating dinner together is absolutely natural. Yuan, he was seriously calling her, good sister, more and more smoothly. At the same time in a courtyard on the eastern side, the bright moon hung above while several simple dishes laid on a small rectangular table that sat under the shadow of a tree. The food had turned cold already but it was completely untouched. A man had just finished showering and slowly walked toward the table in his loose pajamas. His gaze was fixed to some point in the sky and his expression was dazed, as though he traversed through time and fallen into some distant memory. On a wall overgrown with moss, a girl dressed in clothes redder than fire brazenly and arrogantly invaded his world. What? You're saying no one likes you? That's too coincidental, my name is no one. Unsuitable. Non-existent. I'm suitable for all occasions. Hey. Can you lend me something? Lend me a kiss, Kay? I'll definitely return it to you, ninth brother. Ninth brother. Ninth brother. When Lin Kay's voice traveled to the man's ears, his absent-mindedness instantly transformed into his usual unchanging iciness. You need something? Ninth brother, what are you thinking about? I've been calling you for half a day, but you didn't answer. Lin Kay grumbled quietly before answering, I've arranged to have people look into those missing people's whereabouts. Lin Kay sighed with resignation. He just knew ninth brother absolutely wouldn't ignore tasks that Yuan took on. Oh right, there's another matter I have to report to you. Lin Kay was about to continue his report when his gaze coincidentally landed on Si Yihan and he jolted in fright. Shit, ninth brother. What happened to your body? What? Si Yihan turned to Lin Kay with confusion. Lin Kay was shocked as he stared at the exposed area near Si Yihan's collar. Red lines densely covered the skin under his neck like a spider web. Si Yihan followed Lin Kay's gaze and also discovered the bloody red lines on his skin. After his slender fingers pulled open his pajamas, the scene was more frightening. Bloody lines had enveloped his entire body, stretching from his neck to his collarbone, his chest, his abdomen, dipping into the areas his clothes covered still. Fuck, what's going on? You got poisoned, ninth brother. Lin Kay was greatly shocked. Si Yihan intently stared at the red lines covering his body before calmly answering a moment later, it's the love goo. Lin Kay was stunned. The love goo. The love goo is flaring up. Isn't there at least another week before it flares up? What do these bloody lines mean? Si Yihan, the bloody lines meant. The deeper and more loyal the goo victim felt toward their loved one and the more they longed for their loved one, the more intense the effects of the red lines. When Lin Kay calmed down slightly, he discovered something was amiss. Hey, wait, didn't they say that girl Yuan has the antidote? I thought the poison was cured already. So why the heck is it flaring up out of nowhere? An imperceptible exasperation flickered through Si Yihan's eyes. She clearly didn't take the antidote. In the Western court, Yuan felt something was incredibly off about her body and didn't have the energy to pay attention to nameless Nye. She lifted the teacup and downed the cup of herbal tea in one go but still felt her heart burning and blazing afterward. The symptoms didn't abate in the slightest. Yuan slammed the cup on the table with a bang. Freaking, just what the heck is going on? I feel like I'm about to have an out-of-body experience. Her current condition was severe enough to the point of her soul escaping her control and flying away to who knew where. Yuan grimly announced, I think I might need to drink some alcohol to calm down. Swish swish swish. The bottle of liquor on the table was flung far away by First Elder using his internal energy. At that moment, Big Dipper suddenly gasped in shock, seemingly discovering something. Shit. Sis Feng, what's going on with your neck? My neck. Yuan reflexively peered down at her neck and saw a dense mass of spider web-like red lines had appeared by her collarbones. Ah! What the heck is this? Yuan was astonished. Big Dipper was flabbergasted and his eyes bulged out for half a day. When did you get a tattoo behind our backs, Sis Feng? Tattoo your ass. Seven Star hastily grabbed Yuan's hand and rolled up her sleeves, only to see shocking red lines covering her wrists as well. And those bloody lines were spreading at a speed naked to the human eye as though they had a life of their own. It didn't take long for them to crawl to the back of Yuan's hands. Could it be you're poisoned? Seven Star muttered with a terrible expression. First Elder and Third Elder also leaned in. I haven't heard of any poison that has this kind of effect though. While they were embroiled in discussion, nameless Nye, who was stuffing his mouth without abandon, shouted, Damn. Nice, my sister, your love goo is flaring up. Nameless Nye's words were like boiling water that splashed into a pot of oil. Seven Star became stunned. What did you say? Big Dipper was stupefied. Huh? The love goo flaring up. Yuan also turned to Nameless Nya, dumbfounded. Isn't there at least another week before it flares up? Nameless Nya took a bite of his chicken thigh, feeling melancholy. Well, I'm not sure. Yuan nearly slapped his face as she angrily roared, "You're the one who made this love goo. How can you be unsure?" Nameless Nya wore an innocent expression on his face. "It's dead man who made it, not me. I'm merely a middleman at most." Yuan, middleman your ass. At first, Yuan was poisoned by the mutually in love goo and merely needed to get together with a person she liked within 12 hours to cure the goo. What was awful was that this mutually in love goo mutated and successfully evolved into the King of Gus, the love goo. This time limit of 3 months was hypothesized by other people who were past victims of this goo. In reality though, since the goo in Yuan was an accidentally evolved version and different physicians produced different Gus and goo victims had different physiologies, unexpected conditions could arise. Developing a love goo was too difficult and very few people fell victim to this goo, so hardly anyone knew all of its symptoms. Big Dipper was dumbstruck. "What should we do? Autumn Water hasn't found an antidote yet." She said she asked Emperor Ji for help, but Emperor Ji is missing right now. Yuan felt dizzy and her vision was blurring. Her head turned groggy like someone had poured lead in it, and the heat in her body caused her to nearly explode. She bellowed, "Stop freaking wasting your words. Do you have some rope?" Big Dipper hastily parroted, that's right, rope. Old 7, hurry and find some ropes to tie Sis Feng up. Otherwise, it'd be a disaster if she really charged to do something to Lord Azura impulsively. Yuan panted heavily and kicked Big Dipper. "I'm telling you to abduct Lord Azura for me." Big Dipper, 7 star, First Elder, Third Elder, and the others, Nameless Nya stuck up his thumb. "You're truly my sister. I'm telling you to abduct Lord Azura for me." Yuan had just hollered this when Si Yihan and Lin Ke hastily rushed over from the back door. The duo's figures were hidden behind a large tree, and they happened to overhear Yuan saying that. Si Yihan, Lin Ke's lips spasmed. "This girl looks rather lively still, however, I'm afraid you won't need to abduct a certain person. He came here himself." Big Dipper had an expression of misery and despair. "We're doomed, Old 7. The poison has already taken over Sis Feng's heart. She's blabbing nonsensically." It took 7 star, Big Dipper, First Elder, and Third Elder fiercely pressing her down together to barely succeed in restraining her. Yuan couldn't hear anything Big Dipper and the others were saying since her body felt so awful she wanted to explode. The effects slammed into her body too rapidly and caused her to lose her mind within mere minutes. Big Dipper was sweating profusely. We can't. If this continues and Sis Feng loses control and pounces on Lord Azura, we'll be doomed. Let's hurry and take Sis Feng away, then inform Autumn Water to bring that doctor who's developing the antidote to us. I heard the doctor say she must cure the goo within 2 hours of it taking effect or else it'd all be over. That's the only method. 7 star agreed. The Fearless Alliance was about to escort Yuan away when Nameless Nya urgently leaped up and shouted, Hey, why are you looking for a doctor? I have the antidote here." "What? You have the antidote?" Everyone's eyes were fixed on Nameless Nya. "That's right," Nameless Nya replied. 7 star asked, "Why do you have the antidote?" Nameless Nya had a matter-of-fact expression. "I had it all along." Then he leaned close to Yuan. "Good sister, look, thank goodness I'm here today and encountered your early love goo flare-up. Your luck is seriously great, sister." Yuan glared at him. "Get lost." Calm down. Since your poison flared up, you can't be too temperamental. If you're too temperamental, it'll cause your blood to flow faster and speed up the poison. You have no right to talk." 7 star coldly stared at Nameless Nya. "You really have the antidote?" Nameless Nya pursed his lips. "I already said I did. Ask your president if you don't believe me, your president also knows. It was your president who adamantly refused my antidote. 7-star glanced at Yi Wanwan in astonishment. The president didn't want the antidote? Nameless Nye sighed in exasperation. It's true. Ask her yourself if you don't believe me. I already gave her a 50% discount, but she wouldn't buy it. 7-star and the others were startled. They couldn't figure out what trick their president was trying to pull. Big Dipper urgently pressed, Sis Feng, why wouldn't you take the antidote if there was one? Yi Wanwan sternly responded, her expression akin to a soldier who would rather die than give in, all of you, go away. I won't take it. If I have to rely on taking an antidote to cure the love goo, where's my freaking pride? The members of the Fearless Alliance silently stared at their staunch, esteemed president. How should they comment on their president? Lin Kei, who heard everything clearly from behind the tree, Si Yihan kneaded his temples. I should have known. 7-star felt a pounding headache but could only scrounge up his patience to persuade her. Sis Feng, you can't be willful. Your poison has flared up already, and you have less than 2 hours. You must consume the antidote as quickly as possible. After saying that, 7-star had no mind for anything else and hurriedly said to Nameless Nya, I don't need a discount, I'll buy it at full price. Just give me the antidote immediately. You aren't allowed to buy it. I won't take it even if you buy it. Yi Wanwan shouted. Ah, Sis Feng, enough already. If you don't take the antidote, how can you cure the goo? That prideful way of curing the goo you want is impossible, alright? You might even die faster. I won't. The courtyard fell into a stalemate until First Elder's eyes shifted and he idly said, My esteemed president, if you don't take the antidote, Lord Azura will also die. Death is as heavy as Mount Tai but also as light as a goose feather. Can you bear to watch a beautiful man die with you? Yi Wanwan was startled. That's right. After this love goo takes effect, both people will die together. And they will die very miserably, blood flowing out of all crevices and ulcers covering their mouths. There were less than 2 hours remaining. With Si Yihan's terrible personality, if she waited for him to be willing to cure the poison with her, perhaps the weeds at their graves would be as tall as a person by then. Third Elder frantically chimed in, President, look at a great beauty as good-looking as Lord Azura. Can you bear to let him die so miserably? That's right, Big Dipper added. Yi Wanwan patted the school monument in her arms, and turmoil enveloped her face for 3 seconds before she finally acquiesced. Nameless Nya, give me the antidote. This is great. They really had to pinpoint Sis Feng's weakness. Lin Kei also relaxed behind the tree. Good. This girl is finally willing to take the medicine. Everything would have been fine if she took it long ago. On the other side, after Yi Wanwan relented, Nameless Nya swiftly dug out the antidote and handed it to her. Yi Wanwan accepted a small, jade-green bottle and tipped out an ivory-white object in the shape of a pill. She seriously said to Nameless Nya, you said 50% off. Nameless Nya facepalmed. My good sister, you're still bargaining with me at a time like this? Tell me, will you sell it 50% off or not? Yi Wanwan wore a stern expression, looking very much like she would toss her life away if he didn't agree. Nameless Nya felt like he'd met his match for the first time in his life. Yes, I'll sell it. I'll sell it at 50% off to you. Only then was Yi Wanwan satisfied and grudgingly take the antidote. Was there anyone whose life was more tragic than her? She degenerated to the point of needing to take an antidote. Seconds and minutes went by. Sis Feng, how do you feel? 7-star anxiously asked. Other people also worriedly observed Yi Wanwan's reaction. Nameless Nya relaxedly clapped his chest. Don't worry. Everything will definitely be cured after taking my antidote. The goo will be cured within 1 minute. 7-star glanced at the time on his phone. This minute passed very fast, but it was also as slow as a light year. Yi Wanwan sat in her chair, silently waiting for the antidote to take effect. Soon, it was about time. Nameless Nya asked with a grin, how do you feel, sister? Is it a lot better? Do you feel a lot clearer? Are the red lines all gone? Yuan was silent for a dozen or so seconds. Nameless Nya, are you freaking kidding me? Yuan felt her head was about to explode and veins pulsed on her forehead. Clear my ass. Thoughts of him dominate my mind still. Was this him referring to Lord Azura? Or that vinegar factory owner? Or that patriarch of the sea family? Big Dipper was very befuddled. As Yuan said that, she pulled up her sleeves and revealed the bloody lines that sprawled all over her body in a more terrifying manner. Also, tell me, you think this is the bloody lines disappearing? I'm about to turn into a bloody person. Big Dipper stared at Yuan's wrist, dumbstruck. Shit, sis phone. What's going on? 1 minute has passed though. Why's it more serious? More red lines had appeared on Yuan's body than before, and they were a deeper red than earlier. They were so red that it looked like blood would start dripping at any second. The other people also became anxious and started inquiring. What's going on? Didn't you say it'd cure everything? Nameless Nya cautiously took a step back. Wait, no, this isn't logical. Why is it useless? Dead Man said the goo insect would definitely die within a minute and all the bloody lines would be erased. Yuan was furious. Logical your ass. This thingy was illogical to begin with. So does your lousy antidote work or not? Just what in the world is going on now? 7 Star asked. Nameless Nya started, ahem, well, maybe, probably, perhaps, the antidote isn't effective. How can the antidote be ineffective? 7 Star pressed. Well, since the mutually in love goo mutated, it actually isn't improbable for the antidote to also be ineffective, Nameless Nya answered. Yuan shouldn't have depended on this idiot, Nameless Nya, to be reliable. Big Dipper was dumbfounded. So what the heck should we do now? Nameless Nya weakly said, now there's clearly only one method left. What method? 7 Star asked. Find the carrier of the child goo to cure the goo, Nameless Nya answered. 7 Star, Big Dipper, First Elder, Third Elder, and the other Fearless Alliance members, find the carrier of the child goo. Find Lord Azura to cure the goo. Find Lord Azura to cure to goo. Then isn't Sis Feng dead for sure? Big Dipper blurted out. 7 Star also looked extremely unwell, and only sheer willpower allowed him to stop himself from erupting. He turned to Nameless Nya and asked, if the goo poison takes effect, what would Lord Azura's symptoms be? Nameless Nya thought about it before responding, the goo poison will amplify a person's inner desires and the reaction would be more significant the more deeply the carrier loves someone. There would also be more bloody lines and the color would be darker too. Of course, if Lord Azura is pure of heart and barren of desires and doesn't like anyone, then he wouldn't show any symptoms when it takes effect. Realization dawned on Big Dipper. Shit! No wonder Lord Azura didn't have any reaction earlier. I was thinking that it was impossible. Speaking of which, isn't it a bit tragic that Lord Azura hasn't done anything but has to die as well? If you don't like me and don't get together with me, then you have to die. This love goo was truly perverse. Then is it possible that Lord Azura obtained an antidote himself and cured the goo, so our president is also fine? After all, Azura has more means than us, so there's no way they would allow their Lord Azura to die, 7 Star said with a last trace of hope. Nameless Nya explained, currently, you can only cure the goo by killing the mother goo, but we can't eliminate the possibility that an antidote to kill the child goo has been developed. However, the love goo has a special trait. If the mother goo dies, the child goo will also die, and both people's poison will be cured. However, if the child goo dies, the mother goo won't die. Hence, if Lord Azura got his hands on an antidote that could kill the child goo inside of him, Lord Azura would be fine, but your president, she'll die for sure. Big Dipper was stupefied. Shit, then aren't we fucked? Lord Azura's child Gu is probably cured already, which is why they aren't worried in the slightest. At the same time, behind the tree, when Lin Ke heard nameless Nya saying, the reaction would be bigger the deeper the carrier loves someone. There would also be more bloody lines and the color would be darker too. He instantly turned to study Si Yihan's neck. Si Yihan had switched into a confining black suit, so the bloody lines couldn't be seen from his exposed skin. However, when Si Yihan unbuttoned his pajama shirt earlier, Lin Ke clearly saw the bloody lines that densely covered Si Yihan's body. It was very horrifying. Si Yihan peered down and slowly raised his hand, only to see the spiderweb red lines already spreading to his palm. Lin Ke caught a glimpse of Si Yihan's palm, a shocking sight. Shit, he wanted to take a closer look, but Si Yihan had dropped his hand and concealed his palm. Lin Ke coughed lightly. Ninth brother, what should we do now? Before Lin Ke could finish speaking, Si Yihan took a step and walked out from behind the tree. Lord Azura. When the babbling Big Dipper and nameless Nya saw Lord Azura appearing from behind, they were instantly silent as chickens who got their throats pinched. At the same time, everyone's gazes studied the man in front of them like they had X-ray vision. In contrast to Yuanwan's hazy consciousness and body covered in bloody lines, Lord Azura couldn't look any more normal. Hence, there were two possibilities. The first possibility was that Si Yihan was pure of heart and barren of desires and didn't like anyone. The second possibility was that Si Yihan had obtained an antidote and killed the child Gu already. Regardless of which possibility it was, their president was dying for certain. This knowledge caused despair to fill the faces of the Fearless Alliance members. They were seriously doomed. But why did Lord Azura appear at a time like this? Big Dipper looked anguished as he trembled in fear. We're finished. Is Lord Azura enraged from the humiliation and remembered all conflicts between them, so he's finally going to kill Sis Feng? Third Elder, most likely. First Elder, I tried to tell the president to think carefully and to not provoke this demon. What should we do now? Sweat drenched the faces of the Fearless Alliance members, but they hastily protected Yuanwan with vigilant expressions. However, the man's gaze shot past them and directly landed on the girl. Then his long and slender legs brought him closer to her, step by step. By this time, Yuanwan's vision was rather blurry already, but she could still instinctively recognize this person in front of her. What is Sis Feng saying? Big Dipper asked. Yuanwan's voice was too quiet, so no one could hear her clearly. Bead after bead of sweat densely covered Yuanwan's forehead, and her body was swaying. As soon as she saw the man, all her grievances rushed out and she pitifully murmured, "Baby, I don't want the antidote. I want you to hug me." As she said that, she opened her arms toward the man. This time, everyone distinctly heard every single one of her words. Their president actually wanted Lord Azura to hug her. Big Dipper nearly peed in his pants and his ability to speak was lost. Esteemed Lord Azura, forgive her. Our president. She is. While the Fearless Alliance was spooked out of their minds, they watched as the Lord of the Night in his dark black suit slowly strode toward their president like the King of the Night before pausing in front of her. He knew he shouldn't, but he was incapable of refusing her. The girl had her arms open to him like a chick who hadn't shed her fur yet. Her eyes were full of reliance and one look was enough to pulverize all of his walls. A second later, the man slowly extended his arms and gently pulled the girl into his embrace. Since this man's aura was too powerful and frightening, everyone from the Fearless Alliance forgot to stop him and blankly watched this scene unfolding. May I ask, what happened? Was this a new form of martial attack? The second Yuanwan was pulled into Si Yihan's arms, she was like a little boat that finally found its harbor in the expansive sea and she docilely pressed closer to him. When her scent invaded his space and intertwined with his, Si Yihan's eyes contracted instantly. In truth, when the goo poison took effect, he merely felt like he missed her more than normal. Aside from that, nothing else was different. Only the red lines on his body reflected his true response. Perhaps it was because he longed for her enough already even when the goo poison wasn't flaring up. Si Yihan helplessly sighed as he looked down at the girl in his arms. Then he bent down and reached one arm under her knees, wanting to pick her up. However, he didn't succeed. Too heavy. Si Yihan glanced at the stone by her hand, traces of a meltdown faintly perceptible from the corners of his eyes. Let go. Yi Wanwan used the last of her consciousness to fiercely shake her head. I can't. This is my little precious, little darling. It's valuable. I can't let go. Si Yihan. This moment, everyone, including nameless Nia and Lin Ke, was dazedly watching Yi Wanwan and Si Yihan. Si Yihan hesitated for a second before lowly saying, do you want that or do you want me? You can only choose one. Slap. Yi Wanwan threw the school monument away without any hesitation and tightly latched her arms around Si Yihan. Her answer was fairly decisive. Shit. Yi Wanwan had thrown the monument too fast, so the other people had no time to react, but Big Dipper sprang from his spot and narrowly managed to catch the monument. Looking at the heartlessly abandoned, little darling, little precious, everyone was at a loss for words. Of course, what shocked them even more were Lord Azura's incredulous words and behavior. Seven Star deliberated his words for half a day but still had no idea what to say when faced with this scene before him. It was the same with the others. A strange, deadly silence descended on the courtyard. However, at that moment, as though their president thought their world hadn't collapsed enough, she clung on to Lord Azura and tilted her head, daintily asking, I also want a kiss. Kiss me, Big Dipper, 7 Star, First Elder, Third Elder, the Fearless Alliance higher-ups, Merciful Buddha. Countless pairs of eyes swished toward Lord Azura simultaneously. If Lord Azura suddenly unleashed his wrath, they could at least try to snatch their president's wretched life from the tiger's mouth. The intense and numerous pairs of eyes around Si Yihan caused him to frown lightly. The symptoms inside Yi Wanwan's body were becoming fiercer and fiercer. Her breathing was harsh and hurried, and her body felt like boiling hot water. The only thought left in her mind and body was the desire to kiss this person in front of her and possess him. Yi Wanwan requested with dissatisfaction, I also want a kiss. Right now, he was the only thing remaining in her mind and heart. He was the only one in her clear, radiant eyes. This scene was the most wonderful and luxurious scene he had ever witnessed in his life. Si Yihan's cool eyes slowly mellowed out, and he finally discarded every piece of his armor. As though he was compromising, he carefully leaned down and softly pressed a repressed and reserved kiss on her forehead. A loud crash was heard a second later as Big Dipper lost his hold on the school monument and it heavily slammed onto the ground. Thankfully, the monument was of good quality, so it didn't break. Other people's jaws also dropped to the ground. Only a tidbit of their souls remained from that scare. They had probably gone mad, right? Right? Lord Azura kissed their president. It was Lord Azura who kissed her. It wasn't their president who forcefully kissed him. However, Yi Wanwan was obviously unsatisfied with this forehead kiss and grievously reached out to touch her forehead. She unhappily complained, so half-hearted. Again, faced with her complaints, Si Yihan cleared his throat. Later, all right. The Fearless Alliance group had turned into a forest of statues as they froze in their spots, their minds in utter chaos. Who were they? Where were they? After appeasing the girl, Si Yihan finally managed to direct some attention to the Fearless Alliance group, whose world had collapsed several times already. He aloofly swept his eyes over them before coolly saying, I'll return your president to you tomorrow. Before her subordinates could respond, Yi Wanwan interjected, Don't need to return. Don't need to return. President, you can't do that, okay? Without that giant school monument, Si Yihan managed to successfully pick Yi Wanwan up this time. He felt her boiling forehead before swiftly leaving the courtyard. It wasn't until the duo had disappeared that the Fearless Alliance finally shook off their trance. Shit! President! Sis Fong! Their president was taken away just like that? What What the heck was this situation? Before the Fearless Alliance group could become a bigger ball of chaos, Lin K, who hadn't left yet, took a step forward and cleared his throat. Well, you can head back first. Don't worry, we'll return your president tomorrow. Damn it, he just ran off like that and left me behind to clean up his mess again. But, the goo poison in the president, someone quietly cut in. Lin K said, the goo poison in your president will naturally be fine tomorrow. Naturally be fine tomorrow? What did this mean? It couldn't be what they were thinking, right? Their president, and Lord Azura. This speculation terrified everyone out of their minds. At that moment, all that everyone could think of was the spoiling indulgence that Lord Azura treated their president with. Everyone was still drowning in the sensation of their world shattering and collapsing. Yuan Wan was carried inside a black car, and the car slowly drove towards some unknown destination. She had no idea where the car was heading, but she felt oddly at ease as long as this person was next to her. Her escaping spirit also returned to her body. After an unknown amount of time passed, the car stopped in front of a secluded building. Yuan Wan foggily surveyed the scene in front of her and discovered this place to be an abandoned building at the back of Azura's headquarters. What caught her attention was that this place gave her an oddly familiar feeling. Soon, Si Yihan carried her inside the house. This place might look barren and run down from the outside, but it was a different world inside. It was decorated nicely and obviously looked like someone regularly cleaned it. Yuan Wan was dazedly carried by Si Yihan into the master bedroom on the second floor and placed on a sofa draped with a white, soft blanket. Sit down. Don't move. After Si Yihan helped the girl into a sitting position, he immediately grabbed her hand and rolled up her sleeves to carefully inspect her arms. Okay, Yuan Wan obediently sat down and allowed him to examine her, her gaze trailing after his movements. The bloody lines followed her wrist and stretched upward, probably covering everywhere else as well. The doctor previously said the more bloody lines there were when the love goo flared up, the bigger the emotional fluctuations and the deeper the longing for their loved one. Right now, who is the target of her lines? Thinking up to this point, Si Yihan's grasp around Yuan Wan's fingers clenched. He was trying to calm his mind when a shadow fell over his head, quickly followed by several strands of dark black hair falling down onto his neck and shoulders, tickling the spots they touched. Her breathing abruptly approached him and a soft and warm kiss landed on the corner of his mouth. Si Yihan, the sudden kiss pulled Si Yihan's back taut as a bowstring. This extremely light kiss sent all of his thoughts scattering every which way. After a brief shock, Si Yihan grasped her shoulders and pushed her farther away from him. Yuan Wan instantly looked like she'd been deceived. You promised. You promised you'd do it again later. I've already waited and this is already later. I waited for a lot of laters. Si Yihan took a deep breath and finally gathered his thoughts a little. Wan, take a good look. Who am I? Pig trotter. You promised. You promised later. Yuan Wan intently stared at him, peculiarly stubborn about this promise from him earlier. Si Yihan took another deep breath. Wan, do you remember what I said to you before? This love goo is extremely complicated. If the slightest error occurs, you promised you'd do it again later. Si Yihan finally discovered a truth. It appeared he shouldn't even think about continuing this conversation unless he kissed her again. Si Yihan met Wan's bright but stubborn eyes and pinched his brows with a headache. Then his broad hand gently cupped the back of her head, and he lightly pressed a kiss on her lips. He originally intended to simply placate her, but when he came into contact with her soft warmth and approached her so intimately, he felt all reason escaping from his body. When he finally regained his wits, his kiss had turned very serious and incredibly not half-hearted. As for Yuan Wan, she had secretly unfastened his collar at some point in time, loosened 2 of his buttons, and turned his lapels into a disheveled mess. Yuan Wan resentfully stared at her grasped hand. Ajo, tell me truthfully, do you not love me anymore? Don't tell me you have a lover on the outside. Who is it? Si Yihan, how could he not love her? She was the only source of meaning and light in his desolate life. And I even love you to death and devotedly want no one else but you. Her words were akin to white arsenic corroding his heart, but they were also encased in such sweet syrup that he would willingly drink it. Si Yihan was silent for some time before finally uttering, Wan Wan, I know you're currently trying to recover your memories. Yi Wan Wan's expression was startled, and her foggy brain instantly cleared greatly. She didn't expect Si Yihan to suddenly bring up this topic that they had been purposefully avoiding for so long. Si Yihan knew. The thing I regret most in my life is that time I forced you in Jean Garden. I'm sorry. I should have apologized to you a long time ago. This kind of event should have been wonderful and shouldn't have occurred under those circumstances. Si Yihan's voice was brimming with sorrow. Yi Wan Wan reflexively asked, if it shouldn't have occurred under those circumstances, then under what circumstances should it have occurred? Si Yihan answered with difficulty, if you recover your memories one day and still think that, the one you like is me. Yi Wan Wan's face paled. By that time, I'll be a corpse and the weeds at my grave will be taller than my son. Si Yihan, in truth, he still had a dose of the antidote prescribed to him by a doctor he found for security measures. The doctor successfully developed it not too long ago and said there was a 90% chance of curing the goo if she took it. And so, Si Yihan started, I have an antidote here. You can take it now. As soon as Yi Wan Wan heard that, she pushed him forcefully back onto the sofa without any hesitation. Excitement radiated from her eyes and she smacked a kiss on his face. Really? I can take the antidote now? Si Yihan, I wasn't talking about this kind of antidote. However, Yi Wan Wan didn't want to listen to his explanation and swiftly pulled open his collar with her fingers. Si Yihan had too many misgivings right now. After all, this love goo was abnormally dangerous and truly didn't allow for any errors. He couldn't risk her life. His mind instantly cleared and he was about to push her away when something flashed across his vision, as though an object had fallen from her neck and started swinging in front of his eyes. This is... He discovered the new red rope around Yi Wan Wan's neck earlier, but he didn't know what was hanging from the rope since the object was hidden by her clothes. Due to Yi Wan Wan's actions just now, the object hanging from the red rope fell out and it turned out to be his cufflink. He absolutely wouldn't mistake that familiar obsidian cufflink. It was the one he donated to the charity banquet. Si Yihan incredulously stared at the cufflink, his throat turning dry and his icy blood warming and suddenly starting to boil. His cufflink had been hooked with a red rope and was closely worn around her neck, demonstrating just how much she treasured it. Knowing this caused his heart to wildly beat to the point of turning him numb. Si Yihan rigidly extended his hand and picked up the cufflink hanging from Yi Wan Wan's neck. It took him a moment to locate his voice, which was hoarse and husky. Didn't you throw this cufflink away? That day, she was so angry and said she was going to throw it away. Yi Wan Wan peered down at the cufflink hanging from her neck and felt her face heat up when she realized Si Yihan discovered it. She put on a stern expression and grumpily harumphed. Why would I throw it away? Why are you such a spendthrift? I spent at least $1 on it. The moment she finished talking, she felt her world turning on its head, and their positions instantly switched. A second later, his kiss, an eruption and loss of control after prolonged restraint, fervently pressed down and crazily invaded every inch of sweetness inside her mouth. When Yi Wan Wan opened her eyes, she crashed into his seemingly scarlet red eyes, which were brewing with a terrifying onslaught. The sight astounded her. This antidote. It might be somewhat indigestible if I took it. Yi Wan Wan was metaphorically swaggering around with her chest puffed just a second ago but had now turned into a cowardly chicken. His gaze might be crazed and frightening as it locked onto her, but his movements were shockingly gentle. He lightly picked up her soft hands and slowly pressed them against the spot above his heart. Yi Wan Wan immediately felt how his heart was pounding extremely fast, beating against her palm. Si Yihan buried his head against her neck and fiercely gasped for breath as he guided her hand to his lapels. Wan Wan, take it off for me, Yi Wan Wan. Why is my antidote so brazen suddenly? I can't take it. What should I do? Just what the heck happened? Didn't he merely see the cufflink hanging from my neck? You, take it off yourself. Don't you have hands? Yi Wanwan quietly grumbled. You once said you must be the one who does this step since you like this process. No way. I wouldn't say such a thing. You clearly said I was pure and kind-hearted and perfect. What a sin. Although she didn't want to admit it, those words did sound like something she would say. She was growing more and more curious how in the world she got with Si Yihan back then. Back then, did I take the lead? I didn't force you, right? Yi Wanwan was suddenly worried about her character and imagined a melodramatic pillaging scene in her head. Si Yihan's eyes became dazed, as though he had fallen into a reverie. It took a moment before he answered, yes. Ha, I knew it. Si Yihan continued, on the surface, it did look like you took the lead and forced me, what a sin. Yi Wanwan silently covered her face. Hold on, what do you mean it looked like that on the surface? What about in reality? In reality, she never knew it was him who deliberately seduced her from start to end. He knew well that it was impossible. But he wanted her too much, wanted to keep her too much, wanted to possess her too much. In reality what? What? Yi Wanwan curiously inquired, her eyes wide. What answered her a second later was his enveloping kiss, making her instantly forget what she wanted to ask. She was picked up and gently placed on the soft bed. Her fingers were guided to slowly shred away that high-class suit until she could touch his boiling skin directly. The white bed curtain was lowered, and the vase of roses on the bedside swayed and shook. The coolness in the man's eyes transformed into a magma-like inferno. Wanwan, even if you regain your memories one day, I was able to make you forget him once, so I can make you forget him a second time. In the midst of her delirious passion, Yi Wanwan faintly saw bloody lines covering every inch of his body, spreading toward his heart from light to dark, creating a shocking sight. Yi Wanwan recalled nameless Nye's words, and a scorching fire festered in her chest. This guy, he clearly looked like a haughty flower who didn't dabble in mortal matters and abstained from all emotions, not showing a single symptom and causing her to nearly start doubting herself. In the end, his disguise was seriously too good, wasn't it? If she had managed Si Yihan as an actor, they would have probably gotten an Oscar by now. Yi Wanwan's gaze traced up his chest to his neck, his collarbones, his nose, until she met an intense gaze. His eyes were cool and unfathomable, but a heat blazed inside his eyes, as though he wanted to incinerate and melt her, as though she was the only person in his entire world. As he moved, his fingertips lightly grasped the cufflink hanging from her neck. Perhaps detecting her distraction, he narrowed his eyes and added more force, forcing her into a muddled state once more. It was already the next night by the time Yi Wanwan woke up. She sluggishly peeked her head out from the comforter. Her first thought was, I'm still alive. So the goo poison is cured. Yi Wanwan instantly pulled off the comforter to inspect her and Si Yihan's bodies. Those horrifying bloody lines on their bodies had completely disappeared. Like I thought. This was the most reliable method of curing the love goo. Next to her, the sleeping man seemed to have been woken up by her rustling and caught her wandering hand. His brows, gorgeous like the mist draping over the morning woods, furrowed slightly. A second later, he slowly opened his eyes, revealing eyes as unfathomable as the universe. The satiation in his eyes after partaking in a feast cast them in a sinful and devilish light, luring her in to drown in them and steal her soul. Yi Wanwan's heart skipped a beat. Si Yihan's appearance was seriously too killer. Si Yihan's eyes carried a fogginess that came from having just woken up, and he automatically clasped their hands together little by little until their fingers were intertwined. Then he forcefully drew her hands above her without room for refusal and leisurely leaned over, kissing her. Why is another round beginning? Yi Wanwan blinked, disoriented by the kiss, and reflexively reminded him, wait, I just looked. All the bloody lines are gone, so the goo poison is cured. The man's misty eyes had started clearing as he slowly woke up, but he didn't pause after she spoke. He kissed his way to her collarbones, where the red rope hung, and he huskily said, "This time isn't to cure the goo." Yi Wanwan, why do I feel like Si Yihan has suddenly been unleashed from his seal? At the same time, late at night at the Fearless Alliance's temporary residence at the Hot Springs Resort, 7-star, Big Dipper, First Elder, Third Elder, and the others intently stared down Lin Quebec. How could they relax after their president was suddenly abducted by Lord Azura? So, they self-righteously detained Lin Quebec. "Didn't you say Sis Feng would be returned today?" Big Dipper glanced at the sky outside the window. "One day and night have passed already and it's almost the second day, but you still haven't returned her." Lin K wiped his sweat, his lips twitching. "It appeared Yi Wanwan probably wouldn't be returned today. I should have known." The next morning, Yi Wanwan woke up because of a nightmare. Shit! Shit! Yi Wanwan shot up into a seated position with a swoosh, her face full of panic. Si Yihan turned at her with a frown, nervousness flitting through his eyes. "What's wrong?" Yi Wanwan exclaimed. "Where's my little precious? My little darling?" Si Yihan's expression fell. "Little darling." Yi Wanwan urgently gestured with her hands. "It's that giant rock covered by a red cloth. You know, that Scarlet Flames Academy monument that Jiang Lihan gave me? It's gone." Si Yihan started, She just did something so intimate with him, but her first thought the moment she woke up was that lousy rock. Si Yihan had to take a deep breath to keep himself from pressing her onto the bed again. "That's all you wanted to say?" Yi Wanwan was panicking when she abruptly caught sight of Si Yihan's stormy face from the corner of her eyes and belatedly realized something. "I'm screwed." Hence, she hastily leaned over with a groveling expression. Forget it if it's gone. It's just a lousy piece of rock." Although she said that, her heart was bleeding in reality. It was 15,000 honor points. "I had your subordinate take it back," Si Yihan said. Yi Wanwan's eyes brightened and relief flooded over her. That's good, that's good." After learning about her little darling's safety, Yi Wanwan finally recalled proper business and excitedly said, "What I actually wanted to say was, look, darling. Our love goo was cured, so you should believe me this time, right? I told you that I only liked you." She believed that her feelings wouldn't change even if she recovered her memories. After obtaining the school monument, she only needed 10,000 honor points before she could ask for a third hypnosis session from the headmaster. Si Yihan greedily stared at the girl in front of him and at the cufflink hanging on her collarbone. Their bloody lines had disappeared without a trace and they were safe and sound, which proved she did indeed like him, at least that was the current case. This piece of knowledge sent mad joy racing through his heart, even if an enormous whirlpool was hidden behind this mad joy. After staying silent for a moment, Si Yihan pulled out an object from the drawer in the nightstand and handed it to Yi Wanwan. "What is it?" Yi Wanwan blinked and accepted it with suspicion. After Yi Wanwan took it, she found this box to look incredibly familiar. When she opened it, damn! Isn't this the ring that Emperor Ji auctioned off at the charity banquet? Yi Wanwan was astonished, trying her best to conceal the sparkling covetous emotion in her eyes. Si Yihan glanced at her. "Didn't you want it?" Yi Wanwan staunchly shook her head, her expression alert. "No. I didn't. I don't." The coolness in Si Yihan's eyes was replaced by a smile when he saw her reluctantly refusal, and the last trace of chagrin in his heart suddenly disappeared. "You sure?" Yi Wanwan's bleeding heart didn't allow her to say no this time, so she cautiously inquired, "Why are you suddenly giving this to me?" He clearly got into an awful argument with her over this ring last time. After Yi Wanwan said that, she quietly mumbled to herself, "Could it be because I performed well last night?" Si Yihan's expression stiffened and instantly looked strange. "There's no reason why. It's just a ring." Yi Wanwan, eh? What a sudden change in attitude. He should have been like this to begin with. She was utterly devoted to him, so he had no reason to get jealous over a ring. Was it because after the last 24 hours, he finally got some awareness that he was the legitimate wife? Damn, if she knew things would turn out like this, she would have knocked him over without any scruples a long time ago. She wouldn't have needed to suffer so much. Then I won't be polite. Yi Wanwan kissed Si Yihan on the lips before quickly sticking the ring into her pocket. She was just thinking about how she should gather the final 10,000 honor points and didn't expect someone to slide a pillow under her head as she dozed off. She couldn't be any more fortunate. This way, she could immediately return to the academy and find the headmaster to hypnotize her and pay back the honor points she previously owed. While Yi Wanwan was celebrating inwardly, she caught a glimpse of her phone on the nightstand. It kept flashing but didn't make any sound since she put it on silent. It was a no-brainer that the Fearless Alliance members were the ones calling. I think I left with Si Yihan in front of everyone. And I publicly asked for hugs and kisses and Si Yihan actually satisfied every one of my wishes. It didn't take much thought for her to imagine what kind of expression Big Dipper and the others had. Si Yihan didn't pay too much attention to Yi Wanwan, who was checking her phone, but a little detail unavoidably caught his attention. Inside Yi Wanwan's call history, there was a name that appeared very frequently, owner of the Independent States Vinegar Factory. Si Yihan glanced at the nickname. Owner of the Independent States Vinegar Factory? Yi Wanwan's heart instantly skipped a beat. In her guilt, she blurted out, the vinegar in the Fearless Alliance's cafeteria recently ran out, is that so? Si Yihan didn't say anything else but picked up his phone and casually pressed a button. A second later, Yi Wanwan's phone lit up with a call. The caller ID showed, owner of the Independent States Vinegar Factory. Yi Wanwan, Si Yihan. After a momentary awkward silence, Yi Wanwan looked pitiable. I can explain. Actually, I just randomly typed it. It's the input method's fault. The corners of Si Yihan's lips twitched slightly. Yi Wanwan quickly changed the topic. Oh right, what's your nickname for me? She was suddenly super curious, so she immediately called Si Yihan and leaned over to see it. Soon, Si Yihan's phone lit up and two simple letters flashed on his phone screen, MW. M.W.? What does that mean? Yi Wanwan couldn't figure out the meaning of this acronym after half a day or why he used these two letters as her nickname. Was W short for Wan? Then what was M short for? Ajo. What do these two letters mean? Yi Wanwan inquisitively pressed. Si Yihan imperceptibly put away his phone and returned Yi Wanwan's words to her. I randomly typed it. It doesn't mean anything. Really? What do you think? Forgive Yi Wanwan for being unable to comprehend Si Yihan's twisted and meandering way of thinking. With the Fearless Alliance at their temporary residence, after waiting a whole day and night, the members of the Fearless Alliance had lost every inch of patience they had. Big Dipper clapped the table and stood up, angrily shouting at Lin K, "Hey, what the heck is going on? Where is our president? You guys didn't use the honeypot trap on our president so that you could intentionally kidnap her, right?" Lin K also felt incredibly mentally tired and irritably glanced at Big Dipper from the corners of his eyes. He dispiritedly retorted, "If our Lord wanted to take your president away, would he need to sacrifice himself and use the honeypot trap?" Big Dipper seriously deliberated it. "I can't refute it. What should I do?" Lord Azura didn't need to do anything, and Sis Fong would have pounced Lord Azura on her own if it weren't for them fiercely blocking her. Anyway, don't worry everyone. If our Lord wanted to do anything, he wouldn't need to go through so much trouble. But your Lord Azura promised himself that he'd return our president after one day, that's a fact, right? Our president is past due. What if it's your president who's loitering and unwilling to leave? Damn. Don't slanderously mouth. Wait, no, there's some truth in that. While the group turned into a clamorous mess, someone suddenly looked behind them and exclaimed, "President." The scene instantly quieted, and everyone simultaneously turned to the entrance. What? Sis Fong. Sis Feng's back. A black car had stopped in front of the courtyard's entrance at some point. The door opened and the person exiting the car was none other than their president. President. Sis Feng. Sis Feng, you're finally back. Are you alright? Big Dipper howled and started rushing forward. However, he didn't get halfway to her before slamming on the brakes, and the other Fearless Alliance members behind him all halted, not daring to take another step forward. Lord Azura had closely followed their president out of the car. The temperature in the Independent State had been lowering these past 2 days, so the weather was very cold. Yuan was hit by a blast of wind as soon as she exited the car and immediately sneezed. Achoo! Behind her, the man's slender legs stepped out of the car, and he glanced at her with locked brows. A second later, he unfastened the buttons on his suit and took off his jacket before walking forward and draping it over her shoulders. Yuan instantly took the inch by the foot and turned around to glue herself to him. My hands are also cold. Si Yihan looked at her before grasping her small hands with his hands. The members of the Fearless Alliance, who had been worried about their president for a whole day, lifelessly stared at their cute and helpless-looking president. Did their president get her course switched after going on a trip? Lin Kei nearly started crying happy tears. My lord, you're finally sending her back. 7-Star was more dependable and focused on the major issue immediately. Sis Feng, the goo poison in you, Yuan leisurely comforted him. Don't worry, I'm fine. The love goo is cured. Ah. The president's love goo is cured? Everyone's gazes subconsciously turned to Lord Azura. After their president disappeared with the Lord Azura for a whole day, the love goo was broken, and these two were behaving so intimately. A stupefying guess surfaced in everyone's minds. After all, in that kind of situation, there wasn't any antidote, so there was only one other treatment. Lin Kei was also speculating himself since he knew Ninth Brother had a backup dose of the antidote. Did Ninth Brother end up using the antidote to cure the goo or, impossible? This is absolutely impossible. Big Dipper shook his head incredulously. I thought Lord Azura had decent standards, how could he take a fancy to Sis Feng? Before Big Dipper could finish talking, he was served a kick by Yuan. 7-Star deliberated his words for half a day and still couldn't figure out a good way to start. You and Lord Azura, although everyone present could be trusted, Yuan vigilantly remembered Si Yihan had insisted on being low profile, so she casually replied, we just had some tea together and discussed the 4 forms of poetry and philosophy of life. President, do you think we'd believe that? Everyone stared at each other, not knowing what to do. The scene was incredibly strange. Old 7, see, it's like I was saying, perhaps nothing happened with Sis Feng and Lord Azura. They just drank tea and chatted and talked about life and dreams and whatnot. Big Dipper relaxed. 7-Star glanced at Big Dipper, appearing as though he wanted to say something but ended up biting his words. Everyone looked at Big Dipper like he was an idiot. Was this fool doing this purposefully or was he truly naive? Discussing their life and dreams? Don't joke with us. What's there to discuss between a single man and a single woman who are alone together? And they had enough things to discuss a whole night. At that moment, Si Yihan's phone started ringing. He needed to take care of something, so Yuan also didn't linger and quickly led 7-Star, Big Dipper, and the others away from this place. Back at the Fearless Alliance headquarters, 7-Star and Big Dipper kept sending occasional glances at Yuan. Big Dipper's gaze looked especially odd. What are you looking at? Yuan glanced at Big Dipper. Sis Feng. Is the goo poison really okay? Big Dipper quietly asked. How meddlesome. Besides, doesn't he see how lively and energetic I am right now? Sis Feng, you're so cool. I carefully thought about it, and you and Lord Azura absolutely didn't do something as simple as conversing and having a heart-to-heart chat. Moreover, what is there for Lord Azura to talk to you about? Big Dipper gave Yuan a thumbs up. Did they really think he was stupid? The goo poison got cured, so how could they have merely chatted? Everyone said President Fearless coveted the Lord Azura's beauty, but they didn't expect their president to really have her way in the end. What a pity for Lord Azura's illustrious reputation. It shattered completely because of this. President. Before Yuan could respond, Third Elder pushed the door open and entered. What is it? Yuan asked. Someone wants to see you. He says he's Little Stutterer, Third Elder explained. Little Stutterer? Yuan was startled, looking confused. What, Little Stutterer? Where did this, Little Stutterer, come from? After a few seconds, Yuan slapped her forehead and remembered the hidden guard from China's Sea family whose nickname was Little Stutterer and whose real name was Feng Shuani. He later even became the captain of the Sea family's hidden guards. Not only that, but shortly before her trip to the independent state, she was also hunted by assassins sent by Worryless Nya, and it was Feng Shuani who suddenly appeared and saved her life. Of course, Yuan had no idea whether the Little Stutterer looking for her right now was Feng Shuani or not. President, do you need me to kick him out? Third Elder asked when Yuan didn't answer. No need. Yuan shook her head and turned to him. Third Elder, lead him in here. Okay. Third Elder nodded and promptly exited. Sis Feng, what Little Stutterer? Where did you meet him? Don't tell me, it's another resentful lover. Big Dipper anxiously shouted. Yuan glanced at him but was disinclined to respond. Big Dipper's gaze turned suggestive at Yuan's silence, and, I knew it, was written all over his face. Soon, a knock resounded against the office door. After receiving permission from Yuan to enter, the man outside lit a cigarette and took a deep inhale before pushing open the doors. Damn, he has some decent looks with some flavor to him. After seeing the man, Big Dipper started to quietly comment and criticize. You've got to admit, Old Seven, our Sis Feng is seriously something. Although she philanders everywhere she goes and attracts all kinds of bees and butterflies, the overall quality is rather decent. 7 Star remained silent and started dragging Big Dipper toward the door. Right, let's go and leave Sis Feng some private space. It'd be inconvenient with us there. Big Dipper agreed. 7 Star, Miss. Miss, the man faced Yuan with a smile. Talk normally and fluidly. Yuan glared at him. Who else could this be but Feng Shuani? Miss Yi, have you forgotten? I'm a stutterer, Feng Shuani said. Someone, come in here and drag this stutterer outside to feed the dogs. Yuan shouted out the door. Feng Shuani's expression shifted instantly. This was the Fearless Alliance and Yuan was their president. A word from her and there might really be some foolish guy who'd come in and drag him out to feed the dogs. Don't. Miss Yi, let's talk nicely. Aren't you too cold-hearted? At least I saved your life back then, Feng Shuani cried fawningly. You aren't stuttering anymore. Yuan inspected him several times. It was a pity that this guy didn't become an actor. If he was an actor, it absolutely wouldn't be any problem for him to win Best Actor since he could pretend to be a stutterer so realistically that he resembled an actual stutterer. Miss Yi, I really am a stutterer, I didn't lie to you, Feng Shuani helplessly responded. I used to talk with a stutter, I merely got treated for it later. It appears I've wronged you, Yuan said with a mocking smile. Yeah. Feng Shuani nodded frantically. Yuan, this guy seriously knows how to make himself at home. Yuan furrowed her brows. Enough nonsense. Spill the truth. Spill the truth. Feng Shuani was startled. Spill what? What was your objective for infiltrating the Sea family? Yuan asked solemnly. She wasn't stupid. This Feng Shuani was obviously a resident of the independent state, so how could he possibly be that seemingly naive little stutterer? Since things have reached this point, I'll speak frankly, Feng Shuani said while looking at Yuan after a moment of deliberation. To be truthful, the reason Captain brought us to China back then was to search for Captain's younger sister, Worryless Nye. I believe Miss Yi is aware of this matter. Realization dawned on Yu Wanwan. After all this trouble, it turned out Feng Shuani was a member of Nameless Nie's team. Yu Wanwan thought Nameless Nie was a team of 5 this whole time, but it appeared there was also Feng Shuani, so it should be a team of 6 instead. However, Yu Wanwan couldn't understand what Feng Shuani sneaking into the Xi family had anything to do with Nameless Nie searching for his sister. Could it be that Nameless Nie recognized her back then, so he intentionally ordered Feng Shuani to sneak into the Xi family and investigate? Of course, this thought only lasted a second before dissipating. With Nameless Nie's intelligence, if he could recognize her and come up with the plan of having Feng Shuani infiltrate the Xi family, how could he allow that impostor to become the official heiress of the Nie family? Yu Wanwan imperceptibly inspected Feng Shuani before chuckling lightly. So it's like that. You work for Nameless Nie, huh? You concealed yourself pretty deeply. However, hasn't Nameless Nie's sister returned home already? Why did you come to see me today? Feng Shuani observed Yu Wanwan for a moment before answering with a faint smile, must you be like that, Miss Yi? You should know that the one in the Nie family right now is an impostor. An impostor? Yu Wanwan looked at Feng Shuani in astonishment. How did he know that worryless Nie was an impostor? Miss Yi, I'm not my captain. Moreover, the fact that Miss Yi was able to come to the independent state and become the president of the Fearless Alliance means that you have at least recovered a portion of your memory and know some parts of your background. Feng Shuani casually sat down on the sofa and picked up an apple from the coffee table. Continue, Yu Wanwan said. Back then, when Miss Worryless established the Fearless Alliance, it was actually me who thought of the name, Fearless Alliance, Feng Shuani nonchalantly responded and took a bite of the apple. Yu Wanwan was surprised. It was Feng Shuani who named the Fearless Alliance. Miss Worryless was rather close to me, so she discussed it with me when she first created the Fearless Alliance. Of course, this was a secret between Miss Worryless and me, and I stood by my promise and never told anyone about Miss Worryless founding the Fearless Alliance, Feng Shuani continued. Yu Wanwan didn't say anything and silently listened to him. Back then, I snuck into the Xi family because I found Miss Yi to be familiar looking. After all, Miss Worryless went missing for so many years, so the saying, a girl changes 18 times between childhood and womanhood, would explain things. Secondly, the Xi family was an illustrious patrician family in China and held formidable power while we were strangers in China. If I depended on the unreliable captain and those other guys who wanted to discover Miss Worryless' whereabouts without any help, God knows when we'd find anything, Feng Shuani finished. Yu Wanwan pensively inquired, so you think I'm Worryless Nie? Feng Shuani lit a second cigarette and took a deep drag. Yu Wanwan glanced at Feng Shuani and pointed to a sign nearby, smoking is prohibited, with an embarrassed expression. Feng Shuani snuffed out the cigarette before replying, my original plan was that even if you weren't Miss Worryless, I could still use the Xi family's power to look into Miss Worryless' whereabouts as long as I held enough power in the Xi family. No wonder you'd compete for the position of the hidden guard captain, Yu Wanwan murmured softly. That's right. Feng Shuani nodded lightly. In truth, becoming the captain of the Xi family hidden guard was merely the starting point. My goal was to become a higher-up in the Xi family within a short amount of time so that I could come into contact with the Xi family's core power and use it to investigate Miss Worryless' whereabouts. However, Xi Yihan coincidentally went missing not too long later, and I investigated the matter as per my orders. After I conducted a search in the study, I accidentally saw something I wasn't supposed to see. Things you weren't supposed to see, for example? Yu Wanwan asked. For example, memory masking and such. Feng Shuani's lips turned up. Yu Wanwan finally understood why she felt something was off back in the Xi family study and the password lock looked like it had been opened. It turned out Feng Shuani had discovered the truth a step ahead of her. It appears you know everything. Yu Wanwan was outwitted. It had to be said that this Feng Shuani was truly different from the other members of Nameless Nie's squad. In contrast to them, Feng Shuani was practically a genius, alright? Yu Wanwan guessed that Feng Shuani held at least a military counselor role on Nameless Nie's team. I know everything, of course. Feng Shuani nodded. And you never told any of this to your captain? Yi Wanwan was puzzled. I haven't, Feng Shuani replied. You should know the captain's personality. If the captain learned about all of this, the consequences would be inconceivable and we'd definitely alert the enemies eventually, which would be terrible. Yi Wanwan couldn't resist inwardly giving Feng Shuani a thumbs up. That was too freaking wise. It was also why she was unwilling to tell nameless Nya the truth. Actually, I just came back from China but immediately heard the news that the impostor is about to inherit the Nya family. I really had no other options or else I wouldn't have rashly come to the Fearless Alliance today. I believe you also don't hope to watch someone else impersonating you forever, right, Miss Worryless? Feng Shuani asked. Indeed. However, although I've regained a portion of my memories, it's only a portion, it's not everything. Fortunately, I've recovered all of the memories regarding my background. As for the impostor, I haven't thought of a good method to expose her yet. Yi Wanwan had her own apprehensions. Nya Linglong wasn't some sitting duck. Otherwise, that impostor wouldn't be able to conceal herself so perfectly and retain her mask to this day. Let's put that aside for now. There was actually one other matter plaguing my mind. Feng Shuani paused briefly. Back then, when I discovered your identity in the C family study, Miss Worryless, I didn't dare to tell the captain but I gave a general overview to the others. However, after that, you were hunted down immediately, Miss Worryless. I've looked into those people who hunted you and they're connected to that impostor. Yi Wanwan was startled, her brows locking together after some contemplation. What you mean is, my brother's team has a hidden traitor? Feng Shuani's words were no less than a giant bomb to Yi Wanwan. Whether it was brick-moving foreigner or Taoist devotee or spray of flowers or dead man, Yi Wanwan had treated them as very close friends. She neither believed nor was she willing to believe that one of them was a traitor. Ha! Feng Shuani shook his head. Miss Worryless, those people are my sworn brothers, and we've gone through fire and water together countless times. You're unwilling to believe there's a traitor amongst them, Miss Worryless, but I'm even more unwilling to believe it than you. However, the truth lies before us. Of course, we can't eliminate the possibility this is a mere coincidence. I hope it is a coincidence, Yi Wanwan said. Actually, Miss Worryless, I have an idea. Feng Shuani walked toward Yi Wanwan and whispered his thoughts next to her ear. After Feng Shuani departed, Yi Wanwan called nameless Nya immediately and told him to bring everyone from his team to the Fearless Alliance for a meeting. Nameless Nya originally refused but reluctantly relented after a myriad of threats and temptations from Yi Wanwan. Yi Wanwan fumed with rage after she hung up. This brother of hers was seriously too good for nothing. His position as patriarch was stolen by the impostor, so she called him over to discuss some countermeasures. But what did he say? He said his parents had decided already, and he didn't want to fight over it since it wasn't like he'd win. Of course he wouldn't win. This half-wit wanted to fight for the right of inheritance with that impostor and Nya Linglong. Those two could annihilate him with a mere finger. The Nya residence, after nameless Nya hung up the phone, he looked at his team. Captain, what is it? Is Miss Famous helping us seize back our power? Brick-moving foreigner hastily asked. Nameless Nya scratched the back of his head. That's what she said, but I still feel like something strange about it. Even I can't win, let alone her. Iceberg man, go go go. We're going to the Fearless Alliance to have lunch and there's money to get. Nameless Nya waved his arm and led them out of the Nya residence. It wasn't long before Nameless Nya arrived at the Fearless Alliance with his group in tow. A full table of good liquor and food sat in the enormous conference room. Boss Famous, thank you for inviting us to eat shit, brick-moving foreigner thanked Yi Wanwan with a smile, revealing 2 rows of pearly teeth. Yi Wanwan, Big Dipper was astonished and automatically turned to 7-star. Old 7, did I hear wrong? You didn't, 7-star answered. Big Dipper turned to brick-moving foreigner, dumbfounded. Bro, do you know what shit means? Huh? Brick-moving foreigner was startled. There was another meaning. Sensing things were about to go south, Taoist devotee hastily sent Big Dipper a look, but Big Dipper missed it completely. Shit. That's something you can't casually say, bro. Did you get tricked? Big Dipper walked toward Brick-moving foreigner and whispered a few words to him. The smile on Brick-moving foreigner's face instantly stiffened, and he viciously glared at his teammates. Say, aren't you guys too evil? Yuan couldn't help but criticize them. Ahem, let's talk business. Let's talk business first. Nameless Nya guiltily peered at Brick-moving foreigner. Will he hit me? Under Brick-moving foreigner's furious and resentful gaze, the meeting finally began. Yuan smiled at Nameless Nya faintly. Say, you're so evil, so how come you couldn't even win the mere right of inheritance to the Nya family? Nameless Nya was riled up instantly. Who's evil? That was damn Taoist devotee's wicked idea. It had nothing to do with me. Huh? Me? Taoist devotee confusedly pointed at himself. Brick-moving foreigner's ferocious gaze promptly shot toward Taoist devotee. No, it wasn't me. It was Spray of Flowers. He did it. Bullshit. Spray of Flowers frantically shook his head in denial. It was Dead Man. It was him. Iceberg Man. Yuan was exasperated. Didn't the topic drift a little? This brother of hers deserved it for losing the Nya family's right of inheritance. If Nameless Nya won it with that brain of his, she could only say his parents spoiled him to the bones, but that clearly wasn't the case. Yuan waved her hand and ordered 7 Star and Big Dipper to go out first and keep watch outside the door. Let's drop this topic for now. Let me ask you, do you still want the Nya family's right of inheritance or not? A smirk curled up on Yuan's face. How? Nameless Nya was startled and immediately looked at Yuan, stuffing a dumpling in his mouth while he was at it. That's right, Boss Famous. We couldn't come up with a plan even though we plotted together. Taoist devotee urgently said. The Madam and Patriarch have an obvious bias. Everyone is aware of that. No matter what, the Nya family's right of inheritance won't end up in the captain's hands. Spray of Flowers sighed helplessly.